Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and
Good
welcome to the
morning.
fourth day of this 8 days workshop. So, from last 3 days, uh, we have interacted with Suman, Shiva, and Hari. So today, Mr. Ankit Pogla is with us. He's an independent film director and educator. So he's very passionate about using this medium, that film medium, to explore life, and has been directing films on education, environment, sustainability, and development. Uh, he founded Turning Fork Films in 2011, a film company making socially relevant films. So Ankit has been making reflective and contemplative films. You can see half a view, one of his film in YouTube regarding the issue of waste in India's financial capital at one moment. So has been working closely with the development sector, making powerful social impact films. Uh, this is his personal profile, and when it comes to Jeevan Vidya, Angit is also an experienced facilitator of Jeevan Vidya workshops and has been a student of Majest Darshan uh, for more than 15 years. So he's also working in the field of education, creating holistic content. Particularly, the latest is that happiness curriculum. He's a part of one of the team member and the active team member in that happiness curriculum in Delhi by the Delhi government. He's also played an active role taking it to Delhi schools, particularly while conducting workshop to the school teachers. So this is a small basic intro regarding Angitji. And today's session will he will facilitate the today's session. So, Ankitji,
Yes, good morning. Good morning to everyone. Am I audible?
yes,
Yeah, it's all right. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Srinivas. Good morning to everyone. It's very nice to be here and interact with everyone. And I've been seeing that the sessions are going on. And I think it's just important that everyone gives, it's very commendable that everyone gives time to something like this when priorities are very different. So today's tight stretch time, people are giving priority to something like this. I think it's a lot of compliments to them. I can start off. Is there anything, Srinivas Garu, I should take up from yesterday? Is there something from as questions we should start with?
yeah. So if you have any question, I think yesterday, if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask either in yesterday or in the first 3 days. If you have any questions, I request participants to ask so that he'll be into the today's content. If you don't have any questions, then
Yeah.
he'll move.
Yeah. So we had trust yesterday. So if there are any questions, we can spend few minutes on trust and then we can just go on. And today I thought we can discuss more on respect. That is the key content I thought today. Yes. If there's anything on trust, we can just discuss that.
So yesterday we have discussed important concept, the foundational value that we trust. No? So if you have any doubts or if you could able to uh, understand related to life, whatever, if you have any doubts, please do ask. Ankichi, or you can brief in 2 to 5 minutes and you can
Then
go
I'll,
ahead.
yeah,
If
then I'll
there are
do
no
that.
questions.
Right. Okay. So we have gone through what our core purpose is, and we have gone through where do we need harmony in. And I'd just like to spend a few minutes on just looking at what trust is. Um, when I first did my workshop, and the facilitator said that what we expect from a human relationship or from all other humans, that is definite, that can be understood, and that can be identified. I was very taken aback. I said, how is it possible that human expectations can be understood so clearly and can be identified. Because till then, we always thought that human expectations were unlimited. We never know what one wants. Today, my friend or my parent, or from my parent, me, or wife, or children, we keep thinking that every day our expectations are different. They keep changing. So today, a child says, I want a mobile phone. The parents give him that, and they think he's happy, but tomorrow he wants something else. Maybe a different model of mobile phone, or maybe wants to go traveling, or wants something else, or wants a new shoe or a new gadget. So it is always that you don't know what the other one wants, and it's always a big mystery. One of the biggest things is if you understand people is you understand what they know. But when I further waited for the sessions to unfold and the 9 values were written on the board, I was completely taken aback. Completely. I was firstly a bit shocked to see that how can all human expectations be put up into these 9 values, but a bit relieved because I felt that if there is a possibility to look at human values so deeply and so clearly, that means a very big part of conflict in our lives can be solved. I thought the conflict with environment and nature was easier to solve because that is something which came about due to human conflict. Humans were unhappy amongst ourselves. That's why we went up exploiting nature. I had also seen a lot of people who were doing very well in society. They were CEOs, they were leading social organizations, they were leading change makers, they were influencers. But I saw all these people who were big stalwarts in the outside world having very conflicted family lives. And it seemed like you could be a big CEO outside, but your child would not be listening to you. Or you could command great respect from maybe an army of soldiers, but or a huge workforce, or be a government official. But it could be that your relationship at home could be conflicted. You may be getting phenomenal respect outside, but at home it will not be the same case. So then it seemed that that there's something we're missing. And at the same time, it seemed like that in a distant relationship, a relationship where there is a lot of distance, the responsibility is less, it was easier to get something like respect or trust. But in a relationship in which you're living in close proximity, like family, like friends, where there's a lot of engagement, there's a lot of stake into each other's lives, there it seems that a sustained level of trust or respect is very tough. And there it seemed that expectations were very conflicted, were not very clear, were very confused. So I used to marvel at how complicated human relationships were. And to be very honest, before I did the Jeevan Vidya workshop, I had always thought that human relationships were a botheration. They were a problem. They were a bondage. They stopped you from doing something big in life. I myself, of course, had a lot of arrogance before Jeevan Vidya workshop. I used to think that I'm meant to do something very big in life. I'm meant to do something very big in society. And human relationships, especially families, they can't understand this big aspect of ours. They can't comprehend how big or grand a notion I have of social change or wanting to change the world, or don't have a sense of my abilities as a human being to do that. And they're getting me stuck in small issues, or people are getting stuck in smaller issues at home. I keep sharing this that after I finished my master's by mass communication, and I was very interested in working in society, I started working with some social organizations, looking at solving societal conflict. And I was 24, and one day I think I had a small argument with my mother at home, and she told me that you keep looking at solving conflicts outside, but you can't seem to solve conflicts at home. And she told me charity begins at home. That completely blew me off. And that's when I felt that if one is able to resolve conflict outside, one should also be able to resolve conflict at home or conflict internally. And that was for the first time that the human relationships at home and human relationships outside the house merged for me. They became seamless, and I felt that I was looking at working outside. I was looking at making things better outside. I had not seen relationships which I lived in as also something to be worked upon. I felt they were just meant to support me. And after that point, and especially once I did the Yin Vidya workshop, I also realized that bigger work doesn't need to happen outside. It needs to happen within me. So after the session on relationships, especially, a big thing which happened to me was that there has to be tremendous uh, growth within myself or as human beings in understanding human relationships. That is something they have negated a lot. Uh, and after giving their workshop, I started working with climate change people as well. I was working already in environment sector before. And one day in a workshop, I felt I shared people that I feel that till human aspiration and human relationships are solved, we will not be able to sustainably deal with climate change. The climate change is also an impact of bad human relationships. And when they are bad, we tend to look at material happiness more. If they can be dealt with well, we can also look at sustainably dealing with climate change. So when you talk about mitigating climate change, I don't know if this concept is with us, that how much unfulfillment as individuals or in human relationships is manifesting as environmental or ecological damage. Because when we are not able to live in human relationships, we can't share a television, we can't share a kitchen. I have been to houses in villages and in cities. It's not that it is different in different places, that people started off with one common kitchen in a family. Slowly, as the next generation comes in, they have their own families. More kitchens are come up in the houses. Now, the split between kitchens is not to do with convenience only. If it was to do with convenience, it's fine. It is to do with not being able to live with each other under the same roof. And in the same house, you have four kitchens for four different brothers who have different from families. Now, every time a relationship goes bad, natural resources get stretched. Uh, Four kitchens cooking for 10, 12 people, and one kitchen cooking for 10, 12 people. Two cars in a house of 10, 12 people, or six cars in a house of 10, 12 people. You know, two TVs in a house of 10, 12 people, and a TV each, or a bedroom each, or a bathroom each, or a house each, you know. So, and as relationships are not as good, we seek fulfillment and from senses. So we can all see that when we're very unhappy, we also end up drinking more tea or wanting to eat more tasty food or something. So a big thing is the lack of understanding human relationships. And I felt in my entire exploration as well that this was something not looked at. This is something people could not understand as well. And this is something which probably was one of the biggest gaps in current areas of human living. Uh, so when the 9 values were written, after that, it just changed things for me. And I felt that a very big aspect of human life, if can be comprehended through these, could be addressed. And a big relief or a big moment of satisfaction was to see that till now, we were not looking at what core human expectation was. We were looking at the mediums of expectation. So when I first said that there are 9 values, I could not understand it. But now I felt that it's so clear that I may have been upset with that person who did not say good morning or namaste to me one day. But actually, I was not, that namaste, good morning is not what I wanted. I actually wanted respect from that person. Or if I'm upset that a child is upset that his mother did not give him enough toffees, she gave to other brother more or the other sister more. It's not about the number of toffees, it's about a feeling of respect. So if you feel that someone doesn't look at you equally, you feel doesn't look at you with respect, even if they give you extra, one will not be happy. One will say, oh, but you give the person more last time. So, so much of what we think is inequality in terms of physical things is actually not feeling a sense of feeling or respect or a value from that person. So just to summarize what the session, what was started off yesterday by Shiva, was also that are we able to see that core human expectations are these 9 values? These can manifest in different ways, but once we're able to see that, we're able to see something very deep of human, a very deep reality of human beings. And these 9 values, once we go through them, then we can also see that every time something is not going right in a relationship, every time there is a sense of dissatisfaction, we can go down and see that one of these values is missing. It's an experiment I have done for many years, and I still have not seen that I can't place it in these 9 values. So it's something we all also practice and experiment and see. The idea is not that these 9 values encompass everything. The idea also is that Venerable Nagaraj, who propounded Madhya Darshan and on basis of which Jeevan Vidya, he's seen the reality of human relationships, and these 9 values are what have come about. So I'll just start with a bit of what trust was said yesterday on. And before starting off, I also would like to thank firstly everyone here for this opportunity to share, and also starting with gratitude, the feeling of gratitude to senior facilitators, to of course Nagaraj for having brought out such clear explanations of what human reality is and what the cause of suffering is, and also what can be a solution to get human happiness within and outside. Okay, I'll just start with my screen sharing. Yes, is my screen visible? Okay, thank you. So yesterday, one had discussed about human relationships. The screen to the side. Just 1 minute. Okay. Right. So there is something about what Shiva must have shared yesterday about it being mutually fulfilling. I think this is a very important aspect. Mutually fulfillment means that I can also be satisfied, you can also be satisfied, and we both together can create a bigger amount of satisfaction. Otherwise, right now it seems that either my mother will be happy or I will be happy. Either my wife will be happy or I will be happy. So it always seems either or. Mutually fulfilling means that these values are not something which can only satisfy one person. It means that these values are something which can be mutually fulfilling for both. So, for example, if I have a cup of coffee and you also want to have some coffee, so I make it into half. Either I will get full or I will not get full, or we can get half half, or you get full and I don't. So, with anything material, be it a roti or some rice, or maybe I have a car and you we are two brothers. You have one office to go different direction. I have different office to go. So either I get the car or you get the car. With anything material, it whenever it gets shared, some bit of it gets of course split up into two people. But values is not something. The nature of values is different. When it gets shared, it only amplifies the happiness level. So that's what mutually fulfilling means. That it is something which is based on coexistence. That both can be uh, satisfied, both can be fulfilled. This is not something we can reach with material, but this is something which happens through values, and this is something we experience in daily lives. That how sometimes, not every day, that how things can be mutually fulfilling. So that is the scope of looking at values or feelings. Yesterday, these 7 relationships were spoken about, and I'll come on this at the end of the session as well. That how there are 7 relationships on which the values can be seen, and these 7 form the fabric of human relationships. Most human relationships fall into these 7 categories, which we can look at. Yesterday, trust was spoken about. It's something I felt was a big revelation to me when I first heard it in my workshop. And it's also called the foundation value. So just to summarize trust is what you would have said is an assurance on others' intent. So what does it mean when we're seeing the other's intention? It actually means that we are seeing core human nature of a person. We are seeing a reality of a human being. That ultimately everyone wants happiness of them and others. They may not be able to do it, but that is what they fundamentally desire. So we are seeing a part of human nature. We're seeing a part of human reality. We're seeing inherent human being. Now, seeing that reality at such a deep level, even if the person is not able to do, even if the person is so, and then we realize the difference that when a person who wants human happiness like me, like I want human happiness for you and for myself, but I'm not able to do it, is not because of my intention. It's because I desire it, but I'm not competent enough. I just don't know how to do it. So I end up troubling you. I think uh, human happiness is not mutually fulfilling. So I realize that either I can take care of you or I can take care of myself. So I end up taking care of myself. You may think I've been selfish, but I don't know any other way. So it's a limitation of human intelligence. It's a limitation of human understanding. We have not seen some aspect of reality. We've not understood what values are. We've not understood what human expectations are. So trust is the first feeling or value, which means that when we're able to see a deep aspect of human reality, of human being, and the first place I can see that is with myself. I am the only place where I can see that, okay, do I actually desire happiness or not? Every time when I did something wrong to a person, given a choice, if I could have made it right for both of us, would I have? The answer is yes. I did not see a choice there. But whenever I made someone unhappy also, I feel I would have liked to make the person happy. It could have been a reaction or it could have been a limitation. So we are separating my core fundamental desire, my core human intent from what I'm actually doing. Once we identify that, then we can see some aspect of oneself. So trust starts off with seeing once I see my pure intention, then I can see everyone else's as well. And then I can see that people are making mistakes because of our inabilities, because of our incompetencies. It's not that we deliberately want to do it. And at a very deep level, if you see, core human endeavor is that I desire my happiness and everyone else's happiness. So this process first starts with oneself. It can be done in three circles. Yesterday, Shiva was just spoken. The first level of observation is not the world. The first level of observation is myself. The second level of observation is to look at it around me, people whom I know, whom I can at least understand. And then the third level of observation is when I look at everyone. These days, we do it reverse. We first start with applying everything to the entire world. We'll want to apply it to people we don't know, and then people around us, and then last is ourselves. But we have to flip it. We have to start our area of observation and observing reality and observing human beings and observing values and feelings with oneself. So we do it within myself. The second level is with people I know. Once it passes through myself, then I do it with people I know, and then we do it with everyone. So yesterday, all of you must have done it. And I just want to add one aspect of trust that if everyone desires that I want to be in happiness within myself, happy within myself, and also happy with family, society, nature, and existence. That is a core human reality. Once I see it of myself, I can see it with others. And trust starts with seeing this human intention. And one aspect we also should be aware of is that it becomes continuous with definite conduct. So I can sustainably trust something once I know that its behavior is definite. Like I'm sitting in this room and there's a roof on top of me and I know that it's not going to fall to, right? That is definite conduct. I'm walking over a bridge and if I have a clear understanding, I know that the bridge will not fall unless it's made improperly. So there was a bridge which fell in Gujarat recently. It was not that the bridge was not repaired the way it was meant to be, but if we had done it properly, then we knew that how long it would have stayed. So a thing of trust I also feel as we go ahead is that one part of the trust is seeing human intention. But we also should know that where trust becomes sustainable is that when we are also not living just with good intention, but we're also living with a good competency. Our competency is increased. and we're able to manifest it in our life, that's when trust becomes sustainable within myself and with the others. Why I'm saying this is because if we just look at it as intention, then we will not feel the need to grow internally, not feel the need to have our conduct become important. That is very important because others you can see, oh, look, if anyone's done a mistake or I've done a mistake, it is just due to my incompetency. But for a society to have sustainable trust, it has to also manifest in a conduct. That's the area of growth for each one of us. And a very key aspect of trust, I feel, is that the moment we question someone's intention, conversation stops there, relationship stops there. So trust and respect are also known as foundation values because of that. If you see that if you have made a mistake or I have made a mistake and someone says that, look, you wanted to make that mistake, right? The moment someone says that, we are like, look, if you have thought that my intention is not good enough, then there's no point talking. It happened by mistake. So the moment someone doubts my intention or I doubt my intention, we have to see that the relationship ceases that time. Further values or further participation into each other's lives immediately becomes a barrier. After that, the relationship becomes a formality. So trust is something which is not communicated so much explicitly through our speech, but a lot through our feeling. And we are conscious entities, so we can sense feelings, we can sense values. We know if the person trusts us or not. We don't have to ask the person, we can sense it, We can sense, because we are consciousness, we can sense the values or feelings that the other one has, or if we have it for others. So core aspect of trust also is that if we start seeing it in our lives and slowly we see in ourselves and around us, we will see that once we have the feeling of trust towards someone, it's easier to talk to the person. Otherwise, if you don't trust a person, you'll see you're not even able to make eye contact. So slowly, gradually, as we look at these concepts and start applying it in our lives, we can slowly start seeing that I can have a feeling of trust despite a person being incompetent. And that does not mean that I let the person do whatever they want, or I open my doors and say, oh, now I don't need to try, I have trust, I don't need to lock my doors, and everyone will become fine. We have to understand the gap that we are looking at someone's intention, and the competency also needs to be developed. The person also has to manifest trust in their living. But to start off with, if I have seen intention, there is possibility of building competency. There's possibility of building each other's understanding, and then we head towards living with trust continuously. So I thought I'll just briefly summarize trust. Shiva must have done, I think everyone had a very detailed session on that. In case there is something else on this, if someone has an immediate question, we can discuss it or we can move to respect. Please share if there's something you'd like to, you have a comment or something you'd like to clarify or discuss on trust. Okay. If there's nothing yet, then I can move on to the next thing. Right. So the second value is respect. So the first thing is that we can start seeing all of these as expectations, as feelings. We're using the word interchangeably. Feelings or expectations or values. We're using them interchangeably. So another thing is respect. And it's something we all suffer from a lot. A lot of our world right now revolves around wanting respect, and that we're doing with different things. We're actually wanting respect, and that's why maybe we're earning so much. We feel till we earn a certain thing, till we go to a certain level of studies or this thing. So till that time, we will not be able to get respect. So I clearly remember an incident which happened to me when I was in just after class 12th. All our parents were engineers, and my father was an engineer too. And all our friends naturally felt they were doing engineering. They wanted to study engineering. And I felt I was not very keen on engineering. I wanted to maybe do something like economics or media or social work. So there was a conversation we were having right after class 12. All of us were standing, our board results had come out. All the friends had joined some engineering colleges or something else. And one senior person, some friend's father, he came and stood next to two of us, me and another friend. And he asked both of us, what are both of you doing? So one friend said, okay, I'm doing engineering. And I said, I'm doing economics. That person just turned towards the friend who was doing engineering and just spoke to that person after that and did not talk to me after that. The moment he heard that I wasn't doing engineering. At that point of time, what did I feel? I felt disrespected. What does that mean? I felt that this person has not seen me correctly, has judged me on the basis of a notion that if the person is not doing engineering, he is not a competent enough person. And thus, he did not see the need to engage with me. So initially, I felt disrespected. And of course, I felt angry and unhappy. But then gradually, it felt that it's a notion the person has that on the basis of that, the person is deciding his behavior, which is that if you are doing this kind of a study, you're worth talking to. If you're not, then probably you're not a very worthwhile person. So this is what I think we mean as what is the basis of respecting someone? What is the basis of evaluating someone? So respect actually, if you see, is the feeling with which we evaluate a person. Are we seeing the person for what the person is, or are we assuming the person to be something else? So I felt that there is more to me than just my educational degree. I also have thought, I also have some feelings. To negate all of that, because I have this money or I don't have this money, because I have this education or I don't have this education, because my body looks white or brown or does not look like that, or because I believe in this philosophy and you don't, so then you don't look at me respectfully. So the key issue is that right now, how do we look at respect is on what basis do we evaluate people? So respect is actually about how we look at people. And when we look at them, what basis do we look at them as? Are these notions or are we able to see something deeper? And when we look at people through certain notions or through certain lens, our feeling towards them does not, is sometimes positive and it's not. And we see that we're constantly evaluating people. Like, imagine we're in a room and two people walk in, right? And the moment they walk in, we start looking at them. We don't know these two people who walked in. We start seeing their clothes. We start seeing their language. We start seeing, okay, they're both carrying mobile phones. We quickly see what kind of mobile phone it is. We're able to gauge the person's social stature. Or do they speak in English or Hindi or Telugu? So imagine two people who come to a room and one starts talking in Hindi and one starts talking in English. Some people may naturally gravitate towards the person talking in English, thinking that that person might be more intelligent. Or we're sitting in a room of maybe people who studied in India, and suddenly a person comes and says, "Oh, I've studied internationally." When that person comes in, suddenly we're like, "Oh, there's a person who studied internationally." So then our sense of respect for that person will increase. And then there's another person who studied maybe in a small village, and we're like, "Oh, maybe not so much to learn from that person." So we have some parameters on basis of which we keep evaluating people, and we keep thinking, do we need to talk to them or not talk to them, or what we feel towards them. So respect actually is seeing the notions we have on the basis of which we evaluate, which we comprehend people. So I will just share some aspects of respect, and then we can discuss a bit more. And we all remember when we were disrespected. But we will not remember when we have disrespected someone else. So I think in this session, what we can see is that we look at respect on what basis do I actually evaluate people? How do I decide what they are? Because I'm constantly doing it. You cannot stop evaluating a person. We are evaluating people constantly. Like I still remember that we used to live in an organization in the hills and in the Hindi-speaking villages. It was in Uttarakhand. And one day a person came from America, and he was a white, and we took him to a school, and in the morning he said, "Good morning, children," in his accent. The moment he said "Good morning," there was a hushed silence in the assembly because people were so overawed or overwhelmed by a white Westerner coming. And when people said he's from America, and people get happy and excited when people from Delhi come. And then someone from US has come. So it was a big thing, hushed silence. It was like, someone very phenomenal has landed up. So why was it like that? So somewhere there was a notion that maybe a white skin or someone talking in English or someone from the US is more respect worthy. Interestingly, few months later, another US person came. We again took her to the school, but she was not white. She was ethnically black or African. Now, how have the kids responded to that person? Is the respect or the admiration the same? And that time we can see the kids are excited, okay, someone from the US has come. But the evaluation also became of the skin color. And I could see that time that they were not as respectful of the person because of the skin color. It was not the passport or not the English. Both had similar accents. Both probably were as well studied or not studied, or as well traveled or not traveled, because the difference of the skin color. Suddenly, the same sense of respect for a foreign citizen in a small village in India changed because of the skin color. So that is the notions on which we feel we want to respect people or not. So respect, the value of respect is a lot about looking internally at how we gauge, how we evaluate people. And that is what we're going to open up in the session today. So I will just share the presentation. Yes, and please feel free to just ask in any question anytime if you feel that there's something which needs to be clarified. Please feel free to stop me at any time. So respect or right evaluation is seeing people the way they are. So key question is, are we seeing people the way they are or are we assuming them? So a lot of understanding means seeing reality the way it is. In Hindi, there's a very nice line. It says, "Jo jaisa hai, usko waisa dekhna." Seeing people exactly the way they are, that is, we see, is a feeling of respect. But what do we do these days? What do we often do? We either overvalue the person. Oh, you're everything. Evaluating the person more than what he or she is. So a friend of mine did one thing for me. I got very impressed. I got very emotional. I'm like, you're the best friend ever, or you're the best son ever, or you're the best husband ever. So something good happens, we overvalue it. We make the person out to be much bigger than what the person is. And the person does one more mistake, and we're like, you can never do anything good in your life. We undervalue it. We think the person is not good enough, or he can never do something good. So, sorry, there's a spelling mistake there. Undervaluation is valuing the person less than what he or she is. And otherwise, evaluation is valuing the person as something else. So, there's a very common Hindi thing we use that when the person doesn't change, we feel the person won't change. There's a line we use in Hindi. It says that kutte ki dum tedi to tedi. That means the tail of a dog never straightens. We use that to talk about human beings. But if we see correctly and honestly, human beings can change. But comparing a human being to a dog's tail or to something else and thinking that because that doesn't change, a human being can't change, is actually incorrect evaluation. Maybe I'm not able to change that person, but we have countless incidents of that person understanding from someone else or getting inspired to change from someone else. So there are three kinds of evaluation we're currently doing. We're over-evaluating, thinking the person to be more than what he or she is. We are under-evaluating, where we're evaluating the person less than what he or she is. And we're otherwise evaluating. We're evaluating the person as something else, which is not a human being. Could be anything else you're doing that. In that, we apply different rules to a human being, which is not correct. So mostly, if you see, we're going in circles, doing over-evaluation, telling people they're everything for us, and then undervaluing. Say you're no good or you're nothing for us. So once I remember I was talking to a union with their facilitator, and they said, how is it that before marriage, two people look into each other's eyes and tell them, look, you're everything to me. And the only thing which was empty in my life was you. And now you're here, everything is fine. And few months down the line, we can look at the same person and say that you're probably not the good thing to have happened to you. Or, oh, I don't know why I thought like this, but you're very different and you're no good, or you're not as good enough, or you have so many gaps. So how is it that with the same person in few months or few years, we can go from over evaluating the person to under evaluating the person? Has the person changed, or is it that my expectations are not getting met? That's why my understanding of the person has changed. So respect is looking at that we're not even seeing how the person is. One part of the person works for me, so we over evaluate. One part doesn't work for me, and when that comes up, we under evaluate. And we're going in circles in this. But are we still able to see for what the person is, by himself or herself? So big challenge is seeing the way the person is. That is what genuine respect is. And not just seeing what we want the person to be or what we assume the person. So the question comes up, how do we evaluate someone? We know that we're not evaluating the person correctly, but how do we evaluate the person? So right evaluation of a person is seeing what the person is, not assuming, but knowing, seeing what the person is. And seeing what the person is entails three things, which I'll just put up right now. That what is same in every human being? What is core of a human being? What does it mean to be human? Knowing that, then we can see that what is of good, or what is of value, or what is of excellence in every human being. And we also see that what is different in every human being. We can see that there are three things we can look at when we're looking at respect. I'll go through all of these one by one. So what is same in every person? Now, irrespective of the person's education or money or skin color, when we see trust, we know one thing. We know that everyone's fundamental desire or goal is that everyone wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be in harmony within themselves and outside. When we have trust, we see this. And when we finally see trust continuously, we see this fundamental desire or goal with everyone. So what is same in every person, one part is that every human being aspires to be happy. And it's something you cannot remove from that person. That is an inherent nature of being a human being. And we can see, that we would have discussed earlier, or we'll discuss in the workshop ahead, that we can see four orders in nature. One is material order, one is plant order, one is animal order, and one is human order. And what separates human being from the remaining nature is not the physical shape of it, is not the physical shape of a body, or is not that we are Homo erectus or we're standing straight, or it's not that, we have maybe the thumb, which probably other species may not have as effective. And it's not just an evolved brain we have, but it is the consciousness, the self, which is taking up a body. And it's not driven by the body, unlike animals. Animals, their well-being is driven by the nature of their body, right? But human beings can't be driven by the nature of the body. They're driven by a desire to be happy. That is their prime desire. And happiness entails a lot of feelings and knowledge, not just food, not just the well-being of the body. You give the person enough food, the person still may not be happy. So just physical facilities were, enough. Many of us would not be part of this conversation. So fundamental desire of everyone, mine and including everyone, is we all want to be in harmony within ourselves and outside. So I'm just happy within myself, and I see a rape or a murder or I see a war, it does make me unhappy. And it just does not make me unhappy, but every human being unhappy. We will not be able to do something about it. So that is also a core human nature, that we want happiness and harmony within and outside. So the first part of respect is to see that every human being wants this. Second part of respect is also to see that to manifest this, the method or the program is same for everyone. We all have to understand. We cannot live in harmony without understanding it. We are driven by knowledge. We are driven by our notions. We're driven by the way we see. So human beings, if you want to work with them, that's why there's education for human beings. Education is less of skills and more of mindset, more of thought. So we have changed the mindset of a person that plastic is not good for environment. Once that thing comes in the person's mind, then that person will sustainably bring it in their behavior. So we have to see that we also that we have to understand and live with harmony. And that happens at the level of self, family, society, nature, and existence. It is the same program for me and for everyone else. It may seem that, oh, that person only wants to take care of his family and is very selfish, or that person only wants to work with nature, or that person only wants to work for society, or that person only wants to work with oneself. So we will be limited in our views right now, but as we start expanding, human happiness, sustainable, continuous human happiness is not possible without living in all these dimensions. That's what the proposal says. And the third part of what is similar between all of us, that we all have equal human potential. We all have the same potential in our consciousness. We are conscious beings. We have activities in the self, which must have had in the previous session. We all think. We have the ability to think. We have the ability to process. We have the ability to desire, to visualize, to select, to comprehend and understand reality. So in terms of the consciousness of the Jivan, the activities in the Jivan or consciousness are same amongst all of us. Some of us may have used our faculties more. Some of us may have not used the faculties as much. Depending on how much we've been able to use our faculties or not use, we may be seeing reality more or seeing reality less. We're able to have right understanding more, or we may be able to have right understanding less. The difference is not in our potential. The difference is in how much we have realized our potential. But we have to know and we have to see within ourselves that, do I believe that if it's in my interest and if I get motivated, I can understand every aspect of this existence? And if we ask ourselves honestly that, if you're motivated, we can see the answer will come yes. That if I put my head to it, I can achieve what I want. I'm just not being motivated enough. And every human being has the ability, the potential to understand and live in harmony, understand entire existence and live in harmony with it. We have the potential, we may not have realized it. So this is a very critical part as well. When I was in my first workshop, or all the Gene Vidya workshops I've done, where I felt was a very big difference was that if the facilitator is not talking with the belief that every participant has the ability to understand, this conversation cannot happen. So in respect, we're also with the belief what the person is, that one may not have understanding now, but one has the potential to have understanding. Good teachers are people who already have that faith in a child. And when they talk to the child, even if the child is not understanding, the feeling is that you can understand. That's the first confidence the child gets when he or she feels the teacher is able to see that I have that ability, but I'm not able to realize it yet. And with children, it's very easy to test it because you see that they can gauge that already, or even amongst human beings, we can see that is the other one explaining to me that with the feeling that I can't understand or I can understand. It just changes the nature of conversation. So respect, the first part of it is seeing what is same in every person, what is common to every human being, and what is same in every person, including me. It's not just that it's for others, that our desire to be happy is same, our program, that how we will manifest it by understanding and living is the same, and we all have the same potential to do it. Please let me know if there's any question. You can just pause for a minute in case there's some clarification, and then we can go ahead. Okay, I'll go ahead then in case there's nothing right now. When we're seeing the way the person is, another aspect is also now what is like. I remember a conversation with Prey Nagaraj-ji, and he was once saying that, tell me something good. I was like, why does he keep asking this question every time? He would keep telling people that, kuch achhi baat batao, tell me something good. And we all would wonder, why does he ask that? And then slowly we realized that he's working on our perspective, on a drishti. That often our drishti is on what is not happening in a relationship, but we forget what is happening in a relationship. So when I'm living with you, with my wife or my husband or my children or my family, after a while, my focus goes on to what is not working out. But a lot of things are working out. I'm seeing what the person is not doing. But when we see the reality of the person, we see both, right? We have to see what the person is doing and is not doing. But we only are able to see one thing. When things are going good, we only see what the person is doing. When the relationship is not nice, we see what the person is not doing. That is incorrect evaluation. So one important thing is seeing what is good or what is of value or what is shresht or what is excellent in everyone. So I think this is a very important factor to see. So what do we mean by this? That that, and we can see that every person has some value. Of course, excellence or shrestha when we talk about here is also at a very at a higher level of knowledge and behavior. So excellence or shrestha is the ability to live well, is the ability to have good knowledge and exhibit in good behavior and with nature. Excellence is not comparison, it's not more or less. It does not change with time. Excellence is in right understanding. When the person is living with right understanding, then we are saying that the person is living with excellence, understanding of self, of relationships, of society, and when the person also is living rightly, living with human conduct, with right behavior and right participation. So Shrestha or excellence is when the person has right understanding and is living well. Also to be able to see this, that maybe there are grades of it. Some people are living with less excellence, some people are living with more. But to see that there are levels of excellence, and eventually one has to live in a sustained level of excellence. But to also see this Shrestha, right now we're not able to see that. Um like, for example, human behavior today is not thought of as a very important thing. For a young person, if the person in front is able to explain to him or her how to make more money or how to get through educational organization, that becomes of a higher value than maybe how to how well a person is in behavior. So we don't see one's understanding of reality. We see one's understanding of markets or maybe the stock market or shares or how to make more money. Uh, but genuine, true human excellence is in understanding of reality and right living. As we're doing the workshop and we start seeing that actually there are many people who are living well, who are doing actually well, who are actually living in very genuine ways. And they may be unsung, they may not be spoken about, but they are keeping the families together. They're keeping the relationships together. They're keeping organizations together. They may not be the massive fiery personalities or extremely charming and all, which we give more weightage to. They may not be that impressive on the word go, but we're also not evaluating that over a long period of time how people living. So very often, there are three concepts in human behavior which we see. One is to make something, to create something. One is to destroy something or to finish something. So nature, one thing is the things are getting created. One thing is that things are getting destroyed. So relationships are getting created, relationships are getting damaged. Money is getting created, then money is getting damaged. But the thing is also that we're creating, things are getting destroyed, but they're also getting continued. So we don't pay much attention to how people are also keeping things intact. We have more value towards people who are creating something, but we have not evaluated people who are also maintaining something, maintaining a relationship, maintaining a fabric in society, maintaining values, maintaining societies, maintaining nations. So when we see, when our vision opens up, then we also when we rightly evaluate, then we are not just looking at what's getting created, we're also looking at how it's getting sustained. That is also seeing excellence in person. So the second aspect of respect is seeing this excellence, right understanding and living in a person. And the third aspect is seeing now what is different or unique in a person. A person has a hobby or a skill, or a person looks different, or the person has a different thought. So very often, we all are different in our bodies. Our looks will always be different, even if from the same family. I have a twin brother, we look different. But two look-alike twins also will have some differences, maybe a mole here or some body part will be slightly different. We all are different in that. Skin colors also, there are different broad skin colors, there's Caucasian, there's Mongoloid, there's Negroid. And then we can also see in India also there are different skin colors. In a state also there are different skin colors. People in the family can also have different skin colors. Our builds are different, our strengths are different, all these aspects are there. There is also male, female as gender, you know. So we can see that these are things which are different and unique in every person. Wealth and position are always different, but you also say dhan or pad. That's something which varies. There's someone higher, there's someone lower. I can look at someone and be more wealthy. I can look at someone and feel I'm poor. I can look at someone and have more of a higher position in society or in a college or in a corporate company from the person, and I can be less than someone also. So what is different or unique in every person is that our body types can be different, our wealth position can be different, and in our thoughts we're also different. Like someone believes in Gandhism, someone believes in Marxism or communism, someone believes in maybe dictatorship state, someone believes in a democracy, someone believes in Hinduism, someone believes in Christianity, someone can believe in a different sect or order or Jainism. So these are all isms, or someone believes in capitalism. So these are all thoughts and mindsets. So we also are different in this. Right now, uh, our body types, our wealth of position, how much money I have, how much position I have, or what ism I have, these are very often seen as our areas of evaluating a person, you know. But these are incomplete parameters. Like, can we say on the basis of a person being white in color, white in skin, that is the person a good person or a bad person? We can't say that because they will be good and bad in both ways. If there's a person who looks very beautiful, let's say, can we say the person is a good person or a bad person? So first people will say, oh, I want to marry someone who's very beautiful. Then they'll say, oh, watch out for people who are very beautiful. They will be very different from inside. So there's a fear that if someone is physically beautiful, will the person be internally beautiful? Then you have different notions. Some looks at saying that, oh, look how beautiful a person is. Then you have another saying which says, but beauty is skin deep. It's not external. So there are so many different notions, we're still trying to see, fundamentally come down to how can we evaluate a person correctly. There is a lot of saying in India about people who are tall, it says that people who are tall, their brains are in their knees. So on the basis of things like this, we are evaluating people. And it's uh, sometimes we feel happy with it, sometimes we don't. Strength also, the person has more strength. Sometimes we think the person may be intelligent, but sometimes we think may not be also. But we see every of these parameters, they cannot tell us about a person. They cannot tell us if the person is living in excellence. They cannot tell us if the person is living with trust and respect or with right understanding. These are very incomplete parameters. If a person is wealthy, let's say driving in a big Mercedes, everyone looks at him and says, wow, the person is wealthy. And suddenly we get to know the person is a smuggler. And that's how he got his wealth. Or he got it through incorrect means. Now what happens? Suddenly all that wealth collapses. And we feel, this is not a good person. So, or if there's a person with a very high, position, who's a government bureaucrat or is a CEO, we look up to that person. But if we get to know the person does not treat his or her colleagues very well, and there are countless cases where there have been CEOs who have not engaged in good behavior, it's led to downfall, it's led to a lot of conflict. Or if you have a person whom you feel is doing exceptionally well outside in society, but it does not behave very well with his children or his wife at home, what happens to our sense of respect for that person then? Or even ism, if you like Jeevan Vidya, I like Jeevan Vidya, can we say that we are good people? You like Gandhism, I like Gandhism, or you like communism, I like communism. So the basic thing is that on the basis of body's wealth, position, or ism, we cannot evaluate a person correctly or completely. These are limited. These can only tell us about a small aspect of the person, not about the person's character or conduct or behavior or understanding. So these are incomplete parameters. And that's why when we evaluate on these bases, we often over-evaluate or we under-evaluate. Unfortunately, today, these are also the basis of our identity. How I look or what wealth I have, what gadgets I carry, what mobile phone I'm carrying, or where I've traveled, or what education I've had, or where I live. Address is a very big thing. People, the amount of wealth you have, people can often in big cities like Delhi or Bombay just ask you which colony do you live in, and they will know how to evaluate you. Even in Hyderabad, it will happen, or anywhere else. That depending on your address, also one can decide that are you worth respecting so much or not. So today, unfortunately, these three aspects have become the body, wealth, position, or our ism, or thought we have, become very strong parameters on which we evaluate or we respect people. That's why they become part of our identity. But unfortunately, they're also the basis of discrimination. Every time we evaluate a person on the basis of their body, or their wealth, or their position, or their ism, we are not evaluating, we are discriminating. Because then we decide to give a sense of respect to one person or feeling and not give it to the other. And it's sad that every organization, there are many NGOs in the world, and they're all fighting to correct these values, to correct these parameters and say that, look, based on body type, you cannot evaluate a person. So don't body shame a person. There are NGOs working on mindset change and saying that, okay, people are, they're addressing issues of racism, they're addressing issues of physical beauty, they're addressing issues of fairness. Imagine fairness creams have come about. And if your fair skin is not fair, then, you're not as respected or liked. So if you evaluate on the basis of this, it leads to discrimination in society. We tend to evaluate one skin color higher than the other. It is just something biological. It has nothing to do with human behavior, but we have made it out to be like that. Same with wealth or position, that people are talking about equality now, or saying that, position needs to be used properly. You cannot evaluate people. And that's why even people with high positions or high wealth have been seen that they've not behaved well in society or done things incorrectly, and even have got arrested, or maybe thrown out of a company. So this is the basis of identity, and it's also the basis of discrimination. So a big aspect of respect is that we have to correct our pointers or parameters of evaluation first, and see that what is a holistic or right evaluation of a person. These are limited aspects, and these can lead to discrimination. So just to summarize what we discussed, that respect is to see what is same in everyone, what is common to every human being, and also identify excellence, or that the excellence is that how much is a person living with right understanding or right living. So let's say now why respect is important is it's also important so that I now, after I have trust with the person, I see the intention is fine, I then evaluate the person. I don't judge. Respect does not mean judge. Respect does not mean having an opinion. It means evaluation. And when I evaluate, three kinds of evaluation come. One is that person is of more excellence than me. I am less stressed. The person is more stressed. So I seek inspiration. I look to understanding from the person. I look to get inspired from the person. And I want to become a better person with that person. Or I could be more stressed. I could be of higher, I could have more understanding. But in that case, I become a source of inspiration, in living, not just in talking. So second could be that when I feel I have more understanding, the person also could have more understanding tomorrow than me. But right now I can see that I have more understanding. In that case, I am a source of inspiration. And if we feel we're both equally stressed or having equal understanding, then we understand and live together, We do it at a together level with the feeling of equality. This is actually complementarity amongst human beings. So if we see this, that everyone wants to be happy, has the equal potential, and has to do it for self, family, nature, and society, and then we see that we are able to evaluate excellence, we're able to evaluate Shrestha, then we can see that all relationships are about learning from someone, or passing my learnings to someone, or doing it together. And that is what is complementarity in human beings. When this happens, then competition doesn't happen when we have respect. Then it's not competition, it's a sense of complementarity. Because competition can mean resources, but not in values. In values, when we are sharing it, only the quality and the feeling only becomes better. So when I'm rightly able to evaluate someone, I'm also able to place that person in my life. And once the right evaluation happens, then we also know what to do with that person. Am I that we are able to evaluate that? Am I learning from this person, or am I inspiring this person, or we're inspiring each other collectively? Once this happens, then we can see that the remaining values, the remaining 7 relationships are able to fall in place very, very well. The remaining values fall in place very well as well. But respect is not about attention. Today we think respect is attention. Actually, we all want acceptance. We all want attention, but respect is not that. Attention is that just look at me. Doesn't matter if I'm good or bad. I just want to have attention. Respect is not someone giving me some space in their life. Respect is people seeing me for whom they are. But we all want attention because I think somewhere we've not accepted ourselves. We are seeking our self-confidence or a sense of self-respect also from others. I feel that once we understand respect and trust truly, we're also able to first live with trust and live with respect. Once we do that, then we will not crave attention. And it comes to one of the last points I want to put up, that respect actually means that self-respecting myself is seeing that there's a quotation in there that meri upyogita hi mera samman hai. My usefulness or my participation, that is my respect. When I'm able to see that every human being is able to play a role somewhere or the other, that is respecting the person for he or she is. I mean, looking at a very small person who just comes and sweeps the house, we think the person is small because just that person does not have as much money as me or is dependent on me for his or her livelihood. But the person is also a mother or a father or a brother or a sister. That person is playing some role in somebody's life. That person is educating someone and bringing up a child. So seeing that everyone is useful, everyone is playing a role. So respecting oneself is realizing one's usefulness, role in existence. If I see that in myself, that I have some role to play wherever I am, that is seeing that I have some understanding and have to increase it. I have some living, I have to make it better. That is respecting oneself, evaluating oneself. And respecting others is the feeling of seeing that everyone is playing some role or the other, somewhere or the other, and they are being useful. They are playing a role in someone's growth. So respecting oneself and others is also not just seeing people on the basis of their wealth or power or position or looks, but also seeing that they all desire happiness and they all are playing some role or the other in some person's life. So trust and respect are often known as foundation values. And if you look at them together, I feel trust is the feeling of being able to see the fundamental desire, core human nature of a person. And respect is when once I see the fundamental desire, then I evaluate the person. And the feeling when I rightly evaluate the person is the sense of respect. When I feel that the person also desires happiness like me and has the potential like me, and then if the person has more, I learn from the person. If the person has less, I inspire the person and we live together. And once this happens, these values are established, then the other feelings flow, the other values flow of all these values. So once trust and respect happen, then affection, which we'll go into detail maybe tomorrow, is with a feeling of liking and the feeling of desiring to be with the other. Care, mamta is of a parent or a mother to a younger one. Guidance is again from someone, that who is more knowledgeable than me. I seek guidance from that person. So then we can see that all the values, all the feelings are towards someone who's higher than me, or I am higher than that person, or we are at the same level. And then we participate in each other's life and go ahead. And when I say higher, it's a very relative word. It's only for a short while. Someone I may have more understanding than someone today, but that person could have as much as is possible tomorrow. So understanding these feelings, we have to look at these as feelings as well. When we do these sessions on trust and respect, we're decluttering our thoughts, our notions. When they get decluttered and we see genuinely what it means to trust, it means to respect, then we have a feeling towards the person. These feelings, when are continuous, they lead to happiness in a relationship. And these are what the core expectations is actually. We tend to think that we're expecting material things or attention, but actually what we want is these feelings. Even a small child, is looking at these feelings. So when I have a small kid as well, sometimes a child, wants attention, giving to that person. So the child starts doing bigger things to get your attention. And if you're still not paying attention, the child will pick up your mobile phone, which is the most valuable thing for us, and hold it up, looking like you, she's going to drop it. At that point of time, we're like, oh, okay, I'm giving you attention. But that child is not wanting attention that time. It's wanting to be given that respect. It wants that attention to be engaged with. So we have to see that trust and respect are also fundamental desires. And once they flow, then other aspects flow. And these at the end, are the 7 human relationships in which all these values reside. Trust and respect is in each of these values, and the other remaining 7 values, depending on the nature of the relationship, the 7 values flow. In each relationship, there are several values which come up. So I'll just read out them, and maybe can go into them in Q&A or next session. That for a child or human being, mother-father is one relationship. And I feel relationship is about participation, is about, they're not names, but there are some, these are actually some bhagidari, some participation. So mother-father, fundamentally, the relationship is actually a participation of bringing up a human baby and making it grow enough to understand life and reality and to live better. That is what a mother and father are doing. Brother sister is also helping in that process, of growth, of development together. A friend is someone who's a brother sister but not part of the same family, is part of a different family. You know, a guru is someone who's actually helping us understand life and reality, is a teacher. Then there are relationships at the level of work, of colleagues. A sathi is someone who understands work more than me, could be farming, could be computers. And Sayogi is someone who's learning it from that person. You know. Then we also have relationships as husband and wife once we grow up and we form a family. That is also another participation. And then there are participation which are larger than this in society. I meet a driver, or I meet a tailor, or I meet an engineer, or I meet a government official. These are relationships in human society or order. Right. I needed to leave some time for Q&A. I think I've spilled over the time slightly, so I'll just stop right now. And in case there are some questions now, we can, or some clarifications, we can talk about them. Yes, I thought I'll just put this much on respect today. Yeah, please share if there's any questions. We can discuss a bit more. Yes, I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes, Ankit.
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay. Okay. Just checking. Okay. Now, please share anything with any comments or any questions on what we discussed.
If you don't have doubts, you can also share what you understood or something like
Yes, please. That will be good.
Oh, hello, Ankit.
So, hello.
Yeah. So, like after this session, I feel like understanding was a one level of thing, and like learning all this from, like, after you said that understanding is one other level, and again evaluating ourselves in the whole relationship is one level, and again implementing them is one level, and again there are also moments when there's a flight of fight mode of response in a conversation. So dealing with that is also another level. So yeah, feels like a whole process. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. So if I'm getting what you're saying that also that it feels that there are too many things to look at, when we're respecting a person. Is it?
Like yeah, basically,
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
uh, where I'm coming at is like there are certain people like really lost the uh, respect towards them or love towards them. So in terms of getting back there and evaluating how my relationship with them. So that's what I.
Yeah. When you're saying that you lost respect towards them, what does it mean?
So or maybe like I don't feel some sense of respect because of things they did earlier or how they behave.
Right now, that's what we look at respect only towards people who are living good, right? So here we're saying that respect is, but our evaluation of the person has changed.
Yes.
The person is not fulfilled in expectation, right? And that's why we feel that now we don't feel the need to give respect. Now, let's look at age. We say that we should respect elders. What about people younger than us? What should we do to them? So right now we're looking at respect as only towards those who are senior to us or better than us. But respect is not only towards them, respect is also looking at everyone around and seeing the way they are. So I would suggest that what we are suggesting is that it's not that a feeling of respect has changed. Our evaluation of the person has changed. We were expecting the person to live a certain way with a certain level of goodness, but that person did not exhibit it. And thus now our evaluation of the person, maybe we over-evaluated the person, or we saw the person differently, or we did not see some part of the person. So where a disappointment is actually in seeing that the person could not live up to those expectations I actually had, which is fair enough. So, but I also feel that if you look at it, am I right in what I've said? This is what you were sharing?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But if you look at it, then what's the future of the relationship? Do you still trust that person? Do you still feel at the core the person wants to be happy and wants to make others happy, but is not able to do that because of some notion or assumption?
True. Yes.
So, like, if someone is doing a bomb blast, a terrorist, you can say the person does not have any good intention, but that person actually is, believing that good will happen from that. Or I'm behaving very selfishly. I believe that some good will happen with the selfish behavior because I feel I only have to take care of myself. So we're all driven by our notions on the basis of which we are behaving. I think when we see trust, and it's a tough exercise, I'm not saying that when we see trust and respect, we should suddenly let people behave badly. We should not. But we have to see that people are behaving. I don't think people are good or bad. They have good and bad notions. If we see that people are not good and bad, they have good and bad notions, then we also know how to correct that. We also know that then we work on not negating the person, we work on bettering the person's perspective or notions. The challenge is, I may not be able to do that in a relationship, but someone else can. So we think that because I'm not able to make the person understand or even someone around, and people can be sometimes very tough. No, they're not listening to anyone. But at that point of time, also what the person genuinely requires, if you look at it, is that he or she wants that people also trust that person. So we trust, we evaluate, and we work on their competency. But to work on others' competency, we also have to work on ours. That's a very big issue. So many times it happens that I am explaining to a friend or a colleague, he or she does not listen to me, but they come in a shiver and a facilitative experience and they completely agree with that person. So that means that is also that to improve my competency. These are very tricky issues, very painful issues also. But I feel that in trust and respect, we're also seeing that intention is good, competency needs to be worked upon. And if that we can see, then we look at having faith in the person's intention and improving the person's understanding. I may not be able to do that, but we create an environment for it. I think that is seeing respect as that. Because if you also sometimes may have also let down someone else, someone may have lost respect for you for some other reason. But what do we expect at the core? Do we expect that the person looks at for what we are or negates us? So I think negating a person is painful. It closes the relationship. It also closes the possibility of growth in a person. So I think trust and respect, if you look at them together, it is looking at that. If someone is doing wrong, they should be told. I'm not saying they should not be told. But the feeling, if it's there, and if we see that most people who have not changed say that, what they're most pained by, people who behave not well, they're most pained by people judging them. They feel no one has been able to understand me. That also is something we have to see. Um, I did an experiment where I spoke to a lot of young people who were in different uh, social organizations or different youth groups, and they all stepped out of their families and started doing some social work and things. I did a research across India, and I asked all these children that when you youngsters, that when you went to these organizations, you went to these people, could be Jeevan Vidya, could be some other group or something like that. What did you like about them? Did you hear something new which made you impressed or want to stay there? Or was it about how they treated you? They all said that we were just very overwhelmed by people respecting us, asking us what we think. So the way they dealt with us, the way they behaved with us was more impressive. Later on, the clarity bit came in. Later on, we found we did something new or something useful more. So that means that what these children were lacking at home also is respect. And respect does not mean overvaluing someone, right? No, respect is like किसी को माला पहना दो or something. It is seeing for what the person is. So I would say it's a tough pill to digest, but for that person who you feel you've lost respect, right evaluation is seeing that the person has the ability to live better, but is not able to live that right now. And maybe we're also not able to help that person right now. But at least you're able to see that aspect of the person that there is scope for improvement if and when it happens. When we see that, I feel our sense of that person changes a bit. We watch out for what the person is not doing right, but I feel that person can get touched by this feeling inside us. I think that's what leads to then change in a relationship. Yes. Yeah. Our time is short, so I can only put this part right now. Yeah.
Yes, that was helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. There are some questions which have come. So we often do trust people who are very close to us because we know that their intention is good despite them behaving badly, because we have seen, we evaluated them very closely. Um, but those we don't know very well, we think their intention is bad. That's why even if we have disagreement with a family, after 20 years, we've not spoken to our parents, even then we feel that their intention is right. It's just that the perspectives are different. I feel gradually seeing that with every human being, that is a very good state to be in. There is also less pain and we can see possibility of more growth in people. Yeah. Please share with any other question. I'm just going through some of the messages right now. There's a question that, if people are constantly breaking trust, what do we do? And if I'm able to I'm not competent enough to understand their intent or evaluate them, how do I work on myself? It's a very valid question, very, very valid. All of us go through this also. I think it is to first realize the reality of the situation and acknowledge it, that the person may be doing something which is not right, and also acknowledge that I am not in a position to make that person behave better. So I think a person has shared this, come as a direct message. So I'm just responding to that. We need not change how we're behaving with that person. Do what you're comfortable with that person. Sometimes distance helps, causes us less pain. We don't, So I feel with a sense of respect, not insulting or humiliating a person. If you don't do things very negatively, maintain that minimum distance, some behavioral distance, which helps us also reflect within and gives us space to get over our negative emotions. I think that is what is helpful. And we also have to acknowledge the reality that the person can change, but I'm not in a position right now to do that. So I think some respectful distance there is helpful. Working on myself gradually, giving us some time to reflect, and then coming back. I have seen that people come back in relationships where they feel respect is still there. Where it's not, they will never come back. So I think just give that time, and I believe a lot in reflection. I feel that when we have a conflict, what is the feeling I have? Do I feel that only the other one is at fault, or I could also be at fault somewhere? So I think finishing a conversation with a sense of reflection is very helpful instead of accusation. I think what we have to inculcate in our behavior is to motivate each other to self-reflect. But we have so much of frustration within that we end up accusing. So I can only suggest right now that I think that if we can just behave enough that the relationship is in a zone of reflection, I'm also reflecting on myself. And when I do that, I think it also inspires others to reflect. When people see that this person is not just accusing me, after some time, they can tend to at least alter some feelings inside them. They will not change their behavior. Behavioral change is a very big thing, very, very big thing. Doesn't happen so easily. But I feel at least we can, have this sense of a bit of respect that the person has possibility to change, and I'm not been only accusatory. I think that is helpful in that. Yes, I can answer that to that question. Yes. Is there anything else? Anyone has a question? Oh, yes. Yeah, I think it took up a lot of time in the presentation as well. Yes.
Hi,
Yeah, I do feel it.
Ankit ji.
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you tell me like this intent and competence? Like, can you tell me a bit more on competence?
I think intention is what the person is not doing anything about, but is in that person. So intention is something which is common to all of us. And the intention is not like, for example, you shouted at me and I shout back at you. I say that, okay, why did you shout at me? I'm like, because you shouted at me. Now, so my intention was to shout, but this is not the level of intention we're talking about. We're talking of a level of intention which is deeper than situations, which is deeper than reactions, which is deeper than responses. It is the intention which always is an unchangeable intention in human beings. That is wanting to be good and wanting to do good. Because the intention is there, when someone behaves badly, they may not tell it to you, but they will feel bad. Or when you and I behave badly, we feel bad about it later on. Why do we feel bad? We don't need anyone else to tell us that we behave badly or no. We know that we did not behave well. Where is that coming from? It's coming from that somewhere I'm able to sense that I did not behave as I intended to. But because you shouted at me, I don't admit it these days. We don't admit to each other because we are constantly accusing. So I think intention is at the level of not going through situations, but at a very deep level of human reality that all people want to do good. And competency is that they want to do good, but they're not able to do good. We are reacting, we're troubling each other because we're driven by a limited notion. We also have limitations. The other people also have limitations. So competency is how we look at life. Competency is how we understand life. Like, for example, if I'm not able to speak very good English, right? So that's a language incompetency. But you feel that because I don't know English, I may not be an intelligent person. So that's an incompetency you may have, thinking that that you're evaluating me on the basis of that. So there, competency, incompetency means in how we look at people, how do we understand life, and how we behave with people. So competency is aspect of two things: understanding and behavior and living. So like I have some good things, some competencies, some incompetencies. So does everyone. So being able to see that I think also brings in some humility. So when you make a mistake, I just climb onto you like I've never made a mistake in my life, and you're the only one who makes a mistake. But people are like, look, don't talk to me like I always make mistakes. So we do that. And same the other way around, when I make a mistake and you bounce on me that you are the reason everything is unhappy in life. But to see that everyone is doing well in some places and not doing well in some places. To see that totality of a human being is to evaluate the competency. I think we have to reach a stage where we have to see that intention of everyone is right. Competency is what needs to be worked on. When we do that, then we're looking at how to make the person grow, how to make myself grow. If we don't look at that, then we just conclude that people are good and bad. Good and bad keeps changing, and then that's very limited. So intention, we have to trust the intention that people want to do good. I may not be able to do it right now for them. They may not be able to do it, but fundamentally everyone wants to understand. And competency is the level of understanding, or how good are we able to live properly and live well. Yeah. So trust means seeing the intention. Respect is seeing the competency of the person. Yeah. Is that okay? Is it enough for now?
Yes, that is enough. So suppose there's one intention with one intention. I'm having a conversation with the person, and the conversation is going like being focused on other things. So we have to get back to our intention. What is our base intention for having this conversation? And also, if they're not able to understand, we should increase our competence in making
Yeah,
them
yeah,
understand, and
yeah,
that's how
yeah,
we go about. Is it so?
yeah. Yeah, but that's a situational intention. Like right now, you're talking to me. Your intention is to understand.
Hmm.
Then you're angry at someone and you shouted. Your intention was to release that anger. Then you went to do some social work. Your intention was to help someone. Then you got angry and came and threw everything outside the house. Your intention was to release the anger. So you are having different situational intentions. What's an intention which is common amongst all of this? What's the intention which has not changed? Sometimes you are troubling or you shouted at a person. Sometimes you help the person. So yeah, like it may have happened with a parent or a friend or a family. Sometimes some days you shouted at them or got angry. Sometimes you're being helpful. Could have happened, right? So what does that mean? Does that mean your intention has changed or your behavior has changed? So intention here means since the day you were born till now, what is that one intention that has not changed? And it does not change when time changes, when place changes, or when a person changes. And one deep human intention is that we want to be in happiness and harmony within ourselves, and we want happiness and harmony of everyone else. That is the core human intention. But we're not able to observe at that level. We're observing at very behavioral level. Uh, when we start seeing it that of ourselves, that what is my, I think that the first step of understanding trust and respect is to see how do I trust and respect myself. That the core human intention actually is to do good. Then there are situational intentions, they're very momentary intentions, that I
Right.
intend to help you. Now I'm angry with you, so I intend to not help you. That's a reaction, but deep down, we always want to be helpful and do good for others. So we're looking at observing that. When we see that, then we are able to understand that I'm also reacting and I need to work on that. And when other makes a mistake, we're also able to understand that the person made a mistake out of an incompetency. I don't doubt the person's core intention. So the word intention in Jivin Vidya refers to something which is universal in nature, which does not change. It's not situational. It is an intention which is same across our entire lives. But we've not been able to observe it. We've not been able to see it. So once we see it in us, then we see it in others as well. And when I'm with the feeling of trust, even if the person has made a mistake, I am able to dialogue with that person. You see, if we trust some, if we don't like someone's intention, we mistrust it. We're not even able to talk to that person. We're not able to make eye contact if we disagree. But if we have the level of trust, we can disagree very well as well and say, look, I know you want to do good, but this is not right. So I think that's a very big thing that if we're able to live with trust and respect, then we can also disagree without a bad feeling. But the moment a feeling goes bad, then we're not able to. We try to hide and we say, okay, let's not talk. So I think a good practice is to see that how we're able to maintain seeing someone's intention and evaluating the person. I think then the same conflict situations in some time with practice, we can see they don't look as tough. We're able to see some resolution in them or some immediate steps ahead. Is it okay for now?
Yes, Ankit. Thank you.
Yes. Srinivas, please let me know what time. It's 7:30 as well.
Yeah.
We can just,
If it's okay, then I will go.
okay.
Okay. Thank you, NKG, and thanks for your time. And thank you, everyone.
I have some time for questions. I was just wondering that session time has happened, right? So as you say, we can then proceed or stop.
You are waiting for questions? Then okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that I'm okay. I have few minutes. I just wanted to check with you that because there must be time we would
Okay.
like to close every day. So I'll leave it to you right now to make a call on that.
No, if anyone can question, we can go ahead. Otherwise, we'll close. So, requesting participants to, if you have any questions, please do rise. Otherwise, I will close the session for the day. Seems no, so we'll wrap it up.